Designing a pragmatic clinical trial is just the first step. The challenge lies in bringing that design to life in the real world. Today, we'll explore how to bridge the gap between a well-thought-out protocol and its successful execution in practice. Having a great trial design is like having an architectural blueprint for a dream house. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. A pragmatic trial unfolds in dynamic, real-world healthcare settings where things will inevitably go off script. In this session, we'll emphasize the value of solid planning and proactive trial execution. The goal is to implement the design step by step, anticipate obstacles, and adapt as needed so your trial truly succeeds in the real world. Strong communication is the glue that holds a trial together. A clear plan keeps everyone informed and aligned. So start early. Define who needs what information and how often they should receive it. Hold regular meetings to keep the work on track. Your core study team, such as the project manager, principal investigator, and data lead, might meet bi-weekly. Site teams across locations could join a bi-monthly all-site call to share updates, celebrate progress, and address shared challenges. Make these meetings efficient and worthwhile so people want to attend. Include advisory committees in your cadence. Steering or oversight groups can meet periodically to review progress, provide high-level guidance, and ensure the trial stays on course. Finally, use multiple communication channels: emails, bulletins, shared dashboards, and project management tools. The key is consistency. Set a steady rhythm for communication so no one is left in the dark. Ensure all partners feel they can see what is happening and be able to contribute to solutions. A perfectly designed trial goes nowhere if people on the ground aren't on board. That's where a socialization plan comes in. Essentially, this involves getting everyone familiar with and supportive of the trial. Early on, hold site kickoff meetings with key players such as frontline providers, clinic managers, patient representatives, and so on. Use these meetings to communicate the trial's goals, what the workflow will look like, and why it's worth the effort. Always answer the "what's in it for me?" question for each group. For providers and staff, that might be emphasizing how the intervention could help their patients, or how the trial aligns with the organization's mission. For patients, that might be highlighting how their participation could benefit their future care and community. Always factor site logistics into your trial design decisions. Some locations may not have sufficient storage for large stockpiles, the machinery to accommodate different treatment plans, or the contractual flexibility you might need. Being realistic up front can save you major headaches later. The success of pragmatic trials depends on close partnerships with the people delivering care and those receiving it. That means engaging providers, patients, caregivers, and health system decision-makers as true partners from the very start. These partners help co-design workflows, identify potential barriers, and brainstorm solutions to problems that happen. It's also smart to enlist a site champion at each study location. Think of this person as your on-the-ground hero. They understand local quirks, can spot inefficiencies, and rally their colleagues when it counts. By building strong, trust-based relationships and open communication channels with all your partners, you foster long-term buy-in. Everyone stays invested in the trial's success, and that makes all the difference. When operationalizing your trial, it's crucial to map out potential obstacles in advance, and to do it with your site partners. They have the frontline insights you need. Maybe there's a quirky electronic health record issue, or a clinic workflow that could derail your intervention delivery. Partners often bring creative tweaks that make the intervention a much better fit with routine care. If adherence is a concern, a patient partner might suggest simpler reminders, or a provider might know the best time of day for study activities. Frontline teams are the backbone of trial operations. They're the ones applying the protocol in the real-world environment. So training should fit into their daily workflow and not feel like an extra burden. Keep training practical. Focus on exactly what will change in their day-to-day work, rather than delving into research theory. Make training materials accessible in different formats, such as websites, online videos, nursing rounds, or sessions with nurse educators. Go further by offering quick reference tools, such as frequently asked questions, one-page summaries, and step-by-step guides that staff can access in the moment. And remember, training isn't a one-off. Staff turnover happens, protocol amendments happen. Therefore, plan for ongoing, adaptive training that keeps everyone aligned and confident in their respective roles. Let's talk about randomization, the heartbeat of your trial design, and how to implement it without hiccups. By this point, you've already locked in 3 critical decisions. The randomization unit, whether the intervention is delivered at the cluster or individual level, and the overall trial design structure. With those decisions made, the next step is to operationalize your randomization. Work closely with your trial statistician to generate the random allocation sequence well in advance. Before enrolling a single participant, run a full dry test of the process from start to finish, just to confirm it works exactly as intended. That process might be powered by a web-based randomization module, or, if you're old school, sequentially numbered opaque envelopes. Once the process runs without a hitch, generate the final allocation sequence and lock it away in a centralized, secure system. Hand in hand with randomization is allocation concealment, the safeguard that ensures no one can cheat or inadvertently influence who goes into which trial arm. In practice, this means preventing any peeking at upcoming assignments. Train your site staff and providers on why this matters. That is, avoid selecting patients based on a hunch they'd perform better in the intervention arm, or holding off enrollment to achieve a desired allocation. The randomization should be implemented through a blinded, tamper-proof system. A centralized automated randomization tool is ideal because it reveals the assignment only after you've locked in a participant's enrollment. If you're using envelopes or similar, they must be opaque, sealed, and opened sequentially. Finally, document your concealment method in your trial manual and educate the entire team. Transparency here builds trust. Although allocation concealment might not be flashy, it's a critical behind-the-scenes safeguard for your trial's integrity. Let's switch gears and talk about monitoring adherence, which is how closely everyone sticks to the trial's game plan. Adhering to the trial is important for 3 reasons. First, adherence to trial protocol ensures patient safety protocols are followed. Second, we don't want anyone taking shortcuts, which can threaten the trial's reliability. Third, missing information or inconsistent procedures can seriously distort our understanding of whether the treatment works. So, stay on top of adherence by regularly checking centralized data reports for red flags like missing data. Conduct site visits or remote audits to confirm everything is running smoothly, comparing study records against original medical documents. Where possible, use digital tools like smart pill bottles or mobile apps to track treatments in real time. Finally, maintain an audit-ready file at all times. This means keeping the regulatory binder continuously updated with research ethics approvals and amendments, delegation logs, training logs, and monitoring reports, all organized and ready for inspection. Real-world care is complex, and rigid adherence to a protocol isn't always feasible. That's why in pragmatic trials, the goal isn't to eliminate trial protocol deviations, but to manage them. We start by expecting them and building plans into the design to catch and address issues early. We clearly define boundaries, separating acceptable flexibility from true protocol violations. Again, proper training helps minimize avoidable errors and reinforces critical steps. And finally, we log and analyze deviations systematically, ensuring we understand their impact and can adjust without compromising the study's validity. Missing data is the bane of many trials, and these can be even trickier in pragmatic trials. That's because pragmatic trials often rely on routine care data and patient-reported outcomes with minimal extra prodding. So, offer multiple ways for sites and participants to provide data. This might include mail-in or web questionnaires, phone interviews, patient portal prompts, even texting, whatever makes it easiest for them. The idea is to meet participants and participating sites where they are. So, get advice from your patient and site partners on what reminders work best without annoying people. Despite all efforts, assume you'll still have some missing bits. That's why we pre-specify in our analysis plan how to handle missing data. For example, using multiple imputation or other statistical methods to handle missing outcomes. And if missing data is related to something systematic, that's a flag for your monitoring and maybe a retraining moment. Remember, make it easy to collect data, keep nudging politely, and have a solid analytic backup plan so a few blanks don't bias your results. Retention is not just about participants. In pragmatic trials, we also need to keep sites engaged right through to the finish line. For site retention, keep the communication lines open. Set up regular touchpoints with site teams. This could be a quick bi-weekly call or a monthly all-sites meeting where teams can share experiences and solve problems together. Also, reduce unnecessary burden on clinics whenever possible. If a process is too cumbersome, see if you can simplify it. Remember that pragmatic means the work should fit naturally into routine care. For participant retention, the same principle applies. Make things as easy as possible. Can follow-ups be done by phone instead of asking patients to drive in? Can participants be scheduled alongside regular appointments? Convenience goes a long way in improving retention. Technology can also help. For example, some trials send text reminders or use study apps to keep participants engaged. Always match the approach to what works best for the population you are working with. Most importantly, keep participants informed. People are far more likely to stay involved if they feel their time and contribution are valued. In any trial, things can and often do go sideways. The best defense is to identify major risks early and have a clear plan to address each one. Staff turnover is a common challenge. For example, your trained on-site coordinator or champion might leave midway through the trial. So, consider cross-training other team members and keep detailed documentation so new staff can get up to speed quickly. Supply chain delays can also disrupt timelines. This might mean a late delivery of devices, medications, or other critical materials. Identify backup suppliers and, where appropriate, consider stockpiling key items in advance. Technology failures are another possibility. Develop backup manual processes so critical data collection and intervention delivery can continue without interruption. Finally, plan for potential site dropouts. This could mean recruiting extra sites from the start or having contingency enrollment strategies ready to go. During the planning phase, map out potential risks for your trial, estimate how likely each is to occur, and outline mitigation strategies to reduce their impact on the overall study. Operationalizing a trial design often lives or dies by how well-resourced it is. So build a realistic, feasible budget that accounts for potential changes. In pragmatic trials, unexpected needs pop up. For example, that might be the electronic health record update requires extra programming or a site needs more support for enrollment of participants. It's wise to include contingency funds or flexibility in your budget for these surprises. Also, prioritize funding for critical elements that enable execution. These are things like integration with clinic IT systems, reimbursement for extra staff time, and patient outreach efforts. Keep in mind the less obvious line items such as training sessions, site initiation visits, regular team meetings or travel if in person, and monitoring activities. All of those cost something, whether it's printing materials or platform subscriptions for a data monitoring tool. One tip to keep in mind: socialize your budget with sites and key partners early on. Be transparent on what costs the study covers versus what you're hoping the site will absorb as part of routine care. Research ethics approvals provide the framework to ensure your trial is both compliant and credible. Where possible, use a single ethics review for multiple research sites to streamline oversight and reduce duplication of work. For Canadian multi-site studies, trialists can leverage CAN Review, which is a pan-Canadian collaboration. However, even with a streamlined ethics review process, build realistic site-level approval timelines into your project plan, allowing for inevitable delays in ethics and institutional review processes. Establish a straightforward amendment workflow to communicate and implement protocol changes across all sites efficiently. And remember, ethics approvals don't stop once the trial starts. Ongoing monitoring, proper consent, reporting of adverse events, and open dialogue with ethics boards are vital to maintaining trust and integrity throughout the trial's life cycle. Every trial eventually reaches the finish line, and how you handle the closeout matters for the credibility and future use of your data. Site closeout is the process of wrapping up activities at each participating location. Plan for shutdown well before the last participant's final visit. Create a detailed checklist so nothing gets missed. Reconcile everything. Make sure all data is complete, all paper forms are entered, and all study supplies are accounted for. Return or dispose of unused materials according to protocol, and resolve any outstanding data queries. If you provided equipment or technology, decide whether it stays at the site or is removed. Once the data is clean, Lock the database. This is the formal step where no further changes are allowed. It usually requires sign-off from both the principal investigator and the data manager. From this point forward, all analyses are based on that frozen dataset. Finally, archive essential documents. This includes regulatory files, ethics approvals, safety reports, contracts, and participant consent forms. These must be stored securely for the required retention period, which depends on local regulations. Decide on your storage method. That is, whether your trial will use a secure electronic repository, a central paper archive, or both. If you are using an electronic data capture system, save a snapshot of the database and metadata. Operationalizing a pragmatic trial is not just about following a blueprint. It is about bringing that plan to life in the real world while maintaining rigor. Plan thoroughly, but stay flexible enough to adapt when challenges arise. Engage your partners continuously. Open and consistent communication with true collaboration keeps everyone aligned and invested. Monitor what matters most. Focus on intervention fidelity, data quality, and team morale, so the trial remains both credible and sustainable. Above all, aim for excellence. A well-executed trial delivers more than reliable data. It creates a positive experience for everyone involved, from patients and providers to decision-makers and funders.